Before the presentation, I would like to share just another proof of Russian involvement into this Russian-Ukrainian war. And this book was issued in Moscow in 2015, and it's about state propaganda. And in this book, when you look at the chapter about Ukrainian revolution, they admit, the Russian authors, that they are waging information war against Ukraine. And latently, they also admit that Russian forces are in Donbas region nowadays, creating another, well, let's say, Russian enclave. And so it's to the question of Russian propaganda, if anyone had some doubts about it. Well, and my presentation, well, it's a bit provocative and a bit funny. I tried to compare propaganda cliches that emerged during the First World War period with what we have nowadays in our Russian-Ukrainian war. And while preparing my PhD thesis concerning the First World War propaganda, I found many similarities between the two wars, although they are completely different by nature and origin. So this is my thesis, that one can find similar propaganda cliches that were just somehow refined during the 20th century, not only in the First World War, although they appeared in the First World War, and nowadays are applied to the Ukrainian crisis. So the main materials, I've just compared the press of Kiev of 1914 period with modern Russian and Ukrainian media. Some examples only, because I have no time for a vast presentation, of 2014 to 2015 period. So like 100 years of comparison. And I would like to present the 5 most significant parallels. The first one is the personalization of the enemy. It means that nowadays we talk a lot about Putin, and it's surprisingly how it's similar to the First World War era, where people were talking about Wilhelm II, German Kaiser, with the same role and the same attitude. The second was atrocity propaganda. Of course, it's not the unique example of the First World War. Atrocity propaganda existed and pre that period. Yet it was in First World War that it developed this very powerful concept that enforced public opinion. The third point is rejection of a hostile culture. Nowadays in Ukraine we can see the rejection of a hostile culture, which is Russian culture, because Russia nowadays is the aggressor. Before that, many people in Ukraine had this deep roots with Russian culture, and most of them accepted it, and even it was a culture of everyday life. Nowadays we have this tendency to skip the Russian and return to the Ukrainian. The same was with Russian public opinion in the times of the First World War, because at that time German culture was a symbol of Westernness, of these high standards of living, and Russian intelligentsia, Russian public with good education, it strives to just look like Germans and have this German example of living adopted in Russia. The first point is rhetoric of economic blockade. It was, if you know, this German sea blockade launched by the Great Britain in the First World War, and nowadays we have this somehow humorous self-blockade made by Russia, because Russia adopted this measures against the foreign products like cheese and Polish apples and stuff. So it's also comparable. And again, we have this Crimea issue when Ukraine launched a blockade against this Russian-occupied region because of its own political aims. The fifth one is actually war threatening. It's not that it directly applies to the war, but I found very interesting comparison between the pre-war period, let's say first half of 1914, and what we have today with Russian media, because I'll probably show you the second slide, and it's about radioactivity people. This very famous expression of Russian major media man, Kiselyov, who just threatened the US to turn the United States in nuclear wasteland, and it was just on the TV screen of the first Russian TV channel. It's like all Russian news, the way they have it. Other examples are there's economic blockade nowadays, probably bad quality. Oh, sorry. I forgot to just full screen it. Some cultural intervention of Russian, this just cartoon shows it's in a bit religious way, because many Ukrainians believe Russian Orthodox Church is influencing Ukrainian population is this Russian way of thinking. And of course, this apple devastation and Hungarian gooses that were wasted by the tractor. It was some anecdotes, and it was a real experience of nowadays Russia. So, due to the lack of time, I choose only the first two examples. The first one is personification of the enemy, and again, you'll see this very similarity between Putin and Wilhelm. I decided just to compare the Ukrainian case. Russians also formed with some try to form at least an image of the enemy from the Russian perspective, but they fail. Why? Because there are too many actors. It involves like Ukrainian politicians, then European politicians, American politicians, so it's a large majority of people, and simple Russian, I guess, citizen, he can't just focus on the enemy. While Poroshenko is also in very interesting case, because Russian always, the last 50 years, they claim this fascist, German fascist, Ukrainian fascist, and still their propaganda is largely built on anti-Semitism. You see this like Jewish, how to say, menorah. So it's a combine of Ukrainian symbol of trident, Jewish menorah, and of course swastika. So it's
the colors.
Yeah. And it's very like tough mixture of all the materials, and it's only Russian Russian minds and can understand it in a proper way. While Ukrainian propaganda, if you might say Ukrainian propaganda, I would say information war between Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian case, pardon?
It's a caricature of Institute of World Policy, and it's
Oh, then I owe you. Anyway, I found this caricature the most suitable to describe this pre-war period, because you see like Yanukovych, Putin behind him, and when money and the guns don't work, Putin just tries to reach the AK-47. And then you have typical image of Putin nowadays when the war is already have started. And just to compare, you see now this typical Russian image of Wilhelm II from the First World War era. And you see identically the same picture, because he is also like blamed to be the enemy of the human race, the arsonist of this world fire, the cruel murderer, like crazy man, madman. All these epithets are applied to Wilhelm, as well as modern Ukrainian public applied to the Putin. I would like to point that in the First World War era, it was also not a unique Russian model. It was a model for Entente, so it was applied also in France, like Britain. You've seen this Italian cartoon. But just for you to feel the atmosphere of the time, I've presented a few citations from this Kiev's Russian language press for you to understand what the people thought that way. And they formed exactly the same thoughts as we form now about the atrocity, pardon me, not the atrocity, about the Wilhelm. And also humor, because not only now we try to present Putin in a humorous way, in the First World War, Russian language press also presented Kaiser in this cartoon style just to raise people's consciousness and good mood, just not trying to be the angry with the war. And the second one, the second case I choose to present is atrocity propaganda. Of course, not all of these examples of Russian propaganda are atrocity. It shows just the top 7 most famous ones, and they are very fantastic ones. I'm very glad people already talked about some of the cases, so I'm not, for me not to double check it. So I'll tell the ones that were not covered in today's discussion. Probably the first case of Russian atrocity propaganda was about the right sector. Probably you know what it means. It's allegedly a right extremist organization in Ukraine. Still, in my opinion, they are simply patriots with some strong rightist, but not extreme rightist ideology, because they stand simply for the unity of Ukraine, and they accept Jews, Russians, either religion, either your color of skin. You should just love your Muslim. So everything's fine with that. And what is funny with this case is that, according to Russian journalists, in burned cars of this Pravoseki, undisturbed business card was found, and they just show it as a proof that it was Pravoseki, while it was totally undisturbed with fire. And it created this humorous thing that Ukrainians started to publish these business cards and showing this as totem or something that gives you extra power and some fantastic skills, like in this American-style comics. Also, this crucified boy was already covered, so I'll switch to this Putin and Bullfinch bird. Another episode on the Russian TV at the prime time was that one of the Russian, let's say, journalists said that in Ukraine people tend to kill these bullfinch birds because they are colored originally in the Russian colors of Russian flag. So it's like total nonsense, but still it was shown to the large population, to the majority of Euros in Russia.
They wanted life.
Yeah. And this brilliant monument, in my opinion, I like it very much. The way it is, just demonstrates this Putin, who is very sorrowful about the fallen bird of Russian origin. Well, I apologize for showing probably some not very funny pictures, yet I would like to point out that Ukraine also has propaganda, and our propaganda tends to rely on this image of Russians as barbarians. This is the most probably the most famous example. Ukrainian propaganda tries to overcome the Russian one. And below you just see this like evidences from this social media that stated that local populations are barbarians because they use the items that were originally gathered from this. So no, just okay. But in on the whole, Ukraine just reproduces this Western media, and it tries to present, oh look, Western media said this way and they think this way, so it's probably good and they are right, and if they think so, then we think so also. Okay, history atrocity, I guess it's not that. Atrocity, okay. Atrocity in First World War. The same thing that nowadays Russian media tries to cover, to just blame Ukrainian soldiers for atrocities. The same thing was done by 1914 Russian media against the Germans. And the Germans were accused of numerous crimes. And I want to point out that in every war there are some crimes, but they are over-exaggerated in case of First World War, and in my opinion, they are also over-exaggerated in this war. There were some Kalish incidents, for example, was taken as a major symbolic example of German atrocities in the Russian Poland, and in that period it was like taken by mass media, and every Russian newspaper wrote like for months about this atrocity in one simple city of Kalish, while there were certainly much more like accidents and episodes. Still, propaganda just take one and make a soap opera out of it. Another episode, and the reaction of contemporary, that day, Russian journalists on the matter. You can just take a brief glance on what the people thought about that at the time. Russian atrocity also was the similarity between nowadays and that time was that both Ukrainians and Russians were not perceived as enemies, as barbarians, as wild animals before the war. And then the propaganda should have created this drastically different image of beasts. So in both cases, Russian propaganda created the one by accusing Teutonic cannibalism and like incomprehensible inhumanity, this Nietzsche madness. In Ukrainian case, there were also this accusations of atrocities of Ukraine that are just bombing civil population, killing 3-year-old children, and like this. And what is different when we compare two events is that in First World War there was not some ideological basis for the war, and people still feel somehow human towards the enemy despite all the propaganda. And you can see this probably exceptional article because not much could be found, but still press was free to publish like this quite alternative opinion on the subject, and parallel to this propaganda of the beast, they just wrote about kind and nice German soldiers. Well, and I want to thank you, but don't ask questions because I think not much time left. So.
I think if you have questions, you can discuss it after open space. Yeah, and we have less presentation from our guest from Bonn. I think she will introduce herself.